Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. I am Simply G, and it's way later than I normally do these. Apologies for kind of an inconsistent schedule as always, but sometimes I do have a life. Sometimes I do have things going on, but rather than skip over this week and think about what I wanted to do for next week, or talk about the things that I read this week for next week. Hello, Hugo's Manga. Welcome to the live stream. Rather than kind of leave it for this week and just have a 2-week wrap up next week, I was like, no, there's too much to talk about. There's only 3 series to talk about there, but there's too much to talk about. So I hope everyone has had a wonderful week. I have just gotten home from a lovely meal out with friends, and not coincidentally, but like weirdly enough. So I was with 5 of my friends from high school, meeting up for the like annual time we see each other ever. But one of these friends, high school friends, was actually someone I know from primary school as well. And whilst we were there, like when we were leaving, she pointed out, like, is that person over there? Like, is that woman over there our teacher from the 5th and 7th grade? And I looked and I was like, I mean, it looks like her. Maybe it is. And so she wanted to kind of say hi, but was a little bit unsure and self-doubting. So I had to do it. And yeah, it was her. So that was interesting. It's kind of funny running into someone. Hello, welcome to the live stream. I know it's a much odd time, but as I said, I did actually have a life this weekend. So I ran into my 5th grade teacher, which was so I graduated elementary school in 2005, so it has been 15, almost 16 years since I last saw her. And so yeah, that was a little addendum to this evening, but we're not here to talk about that because that's weird and obviously nobody cares about that much. What we are here to talk about is what I read this week, and I read a couple things. I finished 2 series, one from my physical backlog, another digitally, which, hello, welcome to the live stream, Sly Warlock. I hope you enjoy. And then I caught up with another series digitally. Actually, I should check if there's anything else that I read this week, because only 3 things are immediately coming to mind. But it wouldn't be the first time that I've forgotten something. Let's be honest. Well, whilst I'm checking, the first thing that I did read this week, it was something from my physical backlog. It was something that I was reading quite a bit of for a while. I read half of it and then kind of put it aside for a while just because it's fine. I liked it. It was solid. It was interesting. It's not super, like, my favorite thing. It kind of has a couple tropes that aren't, and a couple elements to it that aren't typically things I enjoy in fiction generally and in manga generally. But I just this week I finished Inuboku SS. So I read volumes 6, volumes 7, volume 8, volume 9, if it would focus, volume 10, and volume 11 with our main characters on the cover here. So if you're not familiar with this series, it is completed in 11 volumes. It's the only one of Koko Fujiwara's titles we have in English. unfortunately, very sadly, she passed away shortly after this ended. So this is her. I don't know if it's her last work or if close to her last work. But this is a semi mid-length supernatural romance action mystery series about a bunch of young people, individuals who are throwbacks. So they have, it's presumed that in the ancestry of their family, there is a child, or there was a child born from a human and yokai coupling, as it were. And so, this weird half yokai child was born, and then every generation they're reborn as pretty much the same person, and sometimes they retain the memory of their past lives, sometimes they don't. So now it's the modern day. A lot of very prominent wealthy families have these genetic throwbacks in their lives, and so one of our main character, who's this girl here, what is her name? Riccio. She has, hello Rin, welcome to the live stream. She's decided to go start living at this Ayakashi Hall, which is where a whole bunch of these genetic throwbacks live, in order to gain some sort of independence. But they are all assigned an SS agent or a Secret Service agent. And hers is this guy here. Again, I don't remember his name. It's long. And so it's a romance between these two. They have kind of a personal backstory going on where they kind of unknowingly were sending letters to each other for a long time. And maybe there's an age gap romance. She's 15 or 16. He's 20, 21. So already not something I'm super interested in. But it is also something that may appeal to people who have the master and servant, or master and vassal relationship. It very much plays into those tropes. But so it's about kind of their daily lives together, about their weird relationship, friendship, romance, as well as the various other people who live in this apartment building. And but okay, so that's sounds kind of straightforward, not generic necessarily, but pretty by the numbers. Obviously, yes, hello Archangel Manga. She did die very young. She died pretty soon after the series ended, which is incredibly sad. But obviously, with me, I am a big yokai fan. This was one that I'd heard has kind of a twist to it, and that's very much the case. So what I was going to say is, I know that the idea or the premise sounds kind of straightforward. How could you get 11 volumes out of this? At the fourth volume, something major happens in which the entire cast of characters except for one dies. And then we jump 20-something years in the future, where the next generation of these characters have been born and have reconvened at this apartment building. And so, and then they're trying to figure out, some of them have memories of the past, some of them don't. They're in different places in their lives and obviously have different experiences. They are different people, despite having some of them remembering what happened, some of them not. And then, so this isn't a very solid 3 acts. There's the first act, there's the second act, which is literally the next generation of these people, and then the third act, which is kind of plays around with time travel and a lot of interesting, odd stuff. It's kind of like, okay, so a good example of how the later part of the series works is very reminiscent of Orange. The gimmick of that being that a bunch of teenagers receive letters from their future selves to help one of their friends stop from dying. It is pretty interesting. As I said, if you're iffy on like age gap romance, if you're iffy about like the master, butler or attendant or whatever romantic dynamic, then this isn't for you. Hello, Yori Moon. Welcome to the live stream. But it has enough of like other plot going on. I do find a lot of the side characters more interesting than the couple. The couple, like, you know, I don't read it for them, and I typically don't like age gaps or anything. I'm kind of a little bit more lenient for yokai stuff, but you know, these are people with a dash of yokai, so I'm not that lenient. It's still weird that a 21-year-old wants to date a 15-year-old. Is still weird. But you know, kind of there's some stuff going on. But I do like not these two necessarily. I like these two, the Tanuki, and I can't remember what the name of the yokai that she is, but she's like the big skeleton. Pretty cool. I like these two actually. They're both completely terrible in interesting ways, but they're interesting characters. Next time we can gush about Malgus. I promise, Yorimun. I will say, I mean, Tracy CDT. I didn't like the anime either. That's why it took me a long time to try this and finish it, because that kind of ends right before the interesting part, like the big plot twist happens. So, and that's kind of quite early on in the manga. So maybe you'd have a better chance or better time reading it. I like these two as well. Again, kind of, one is an extreme sadist. The other one is, well, he's voiced by Miyano Mamoru in the anime, which gives you any indication. He's he's a good character, and it's interesting. It is interesting. Overall, I did enjoy it. I wouldn't say like absolutely have to have, but if it does sound interesting, you might want to track it down. It's very hard to find. It's like an older Yen series. It's relatively out of print. As I said, it's unfortunate that it's the last series that we saw from this creator. Hello, Last School. Welcome to the live stream. But yeah, so I finished the last 6 volumes of Inuboku SS, and you know, I liked the ending. I thought it was kind of pretty much exactly what I expected from it. It didn't surprise me. It didn't upset me, which is good. It was satisfying in the way that it needed to be. I thought that the gimmick that they had was done well. And really that's all you can ask. I will be talking about that at the end, Last School. I will save the best for last. But next, the thing that I read, I caught up with this one digitally, is A Sign of Affection by Sue Morishita. I think the first print volume has come out. I haven't gotten it yet, but it's one that I was following digitally, and now I follow through the Simulpub on Crunchyroll, thanks to Kodansha. I was many chapters behind, so I read like 12 or 13 chapters. No, not that many. 9 chapters, maybe. And it was so lovely. Oh my god, it's so sweet. If you're not familiar with what A Sign of Affection is, it's an ongoing shoujo manga about a girl who is deaf, has been deaf from birth, and her romantic relationship with this boy that she meets on the train. He kind of helps her out of a situation because somebody's asking her something, and obviously being deaf, she can't communicate and doesn't really understand what they're asking. I think it was a foreigner kind of asking for directions or whatever. He steps in. He's very well traveled and he's fluent in English, fluent in German, so he kind of helps this person out and asks, he kind of is like, "Oh, are you all right?" And she thanks him, but she thanks him in sign language. And so from there, sorry, my door open. It's windy here, so I'm like, nobody's trying to come into this room, I hope. It is beautiful art. I really love the relationship between the two main characters. So they start off as friends. He asks her to teach him sign language because he's very, as I said, he's very well traveled. He's really interested in languages. He always wants to go out into the world and be able to communicate with people. But when he meets her, he's kind of confronted with this fact, that there's a language that he doesn't know that is in Japan and is used in Japan and is a very prominent form of communication for a lot of people that he just never really thought about and didn't recognize. And so he initially wants the opportunity to learn this language and to learn more about the community that is that uses this language. And so from there they meet up and she's teaching him sign and they get closer and closer and now they're dating and it's so sweet. And I love home. Communication is really good. As Rin said here, there's a lot less melodrama. I think there's, especially in a series where literally the characters are kind of speaking two different languages, there's always a fear of really leaning into that miscommunication element. But because they're hyper aware of the fact that they do need to talk to each other in ways that they understand each other, there's a lot less of the not asking questions. And when there is miscommunication, they discuss it and they're confronted and they reassess. I think it's just really lovely. Definitely pick up the print volumes if it sounds like something you're interested in. Yeah. And the girl is really sweet, really cute. The guy is typical, shoujo heartthrob. I do like that he's kind of a bit more dynamic and interesting and has a little bit more life experience and a lot of different goals compared to her, but wanting to incorporate her into his life, not seeing her deafness as a reason for her not to travel or things like that. I think it's just really, really lovely. And obviously she's introducing him to a whole new world just via how she communicates, and introducing him to the deaf community, or those who use sign language. And then to a lesser extent so far, but he has every intention of introducing her to his world, of introducing her to his friends and to taking her to all of these countries that he loves, and seeing his friends in Germany and all of this. And it's so good. It's so good. I loved it. It was so I highly recommend the series. As I said, the first volume is out in print already from Kodansha. There's 3 volumes, I think, solicited so far. And there's 17 chapters out. I think the first on Crunchyroll, there's 9 to 17. So the first 2 volumes worth of stuff is not there, so it's hopefully you would buy that digitally because it's been available digitally for a long time, and then you can read the chapters as they come out. I think it's a monthly series, might be bi-monthly, I don't remember. But yeah, I really was very happy, and it was a good kind of refresher to remind myself why I love the series so much. And not that Inoboku SS was bad, but I adore A Sign of Affection versus Inoboku SS, which was like, decently good. And when compared to the other series that I finished this week, that has already been alluded to in the chat, it's nice to know that some things are predictable in ways that you can rely on, whereas others are So we're going to stop avoiding the elephant in the room and talk about Attack on Titan. That is the other series that I finished this week. Finished that today. In fact, I wanted to make sure that I read all of the chapters because I knew I wanted to talk about it tonight, because I knew people would be asking me. This is a series that obviously, like, it does Attack on Titan need an introduction? No, it doesn't. I, like most people, was introduced to the series via the first season of anime. First season is very good at what it does, and I have never thought otherwise. When Attack on Titan was like action horror series about a bunch of teens fighting horrific humanoid monsters and just being pulpy and hyper violent and whatever else, it did that great. I thought it was good. There was a good level of mystery, all of that. I followed up with the manga afterwards. I used to own several, like 24 volumes of the series, right? And very quickly it, just devolved, right? It wasn't ever like high art, and it didn't need to be. I think there was enough stakes when it was still small scale about people who were fighting monsters because they were gonna die otherwise. And then it kind of got too big. I don't think this is a controversial statement. It's in the similar vein to anything that gets just humongously popular, like Attack on Titan did. It was the absolute force of nature. So anything that the series did was scrutinized, I think. Well, not by fans, but I think there's a part of me that thinks that no matter what the ending would have been, it wouldn't have lived up to what people wanted from it, just because of how big it was, right? Like most people, when a super popular series ends, the ending kind of, hits a point and everyone's like, oh, well, that could have been better. That doesn't surprise me. And I don't know how I feel about that because, okay, so as I alluded to, Attack on Titan, I have not been a fan of for many, 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 many years. As I said, it kind of jumped the shark pretty much immediately after the first season. It's content. The political stuff meant that it had to be smart. And Attack on Titan is a lot of things, but it's not smart. People may, let's encourage kids to put on those military costumes. That's a good idea. People may disagree with me on this, and that's fine. You're allowed your opinion. But I don't think that there was a need for Attack on Titan to be smart. I do believe that Isayama had this idea that he wanted to tell this, monster story, or this, the story about monsters, but also tie it into like hate cycles, and like the futility of war, and fighting a force larger than yourself when you're just one person, and things like that. And I don't think that like all of that was just pulled out of his ass. I think there is messaging and ideas and themes that have always been in Attack on Titan, and were always meant to be in Attack on Titan. But I think that when Isayama not only got so popular, but kind of incorporated more of the political aspects of the ideas of fascism, this larger conspiracy, these ideas of like political scheming and governmental mistrust and forever wars and like racism, or I guess xenophobia, or whatever you want to call it, hate crime. He didn't know how to use that, and he kind of there's a lot of mixed messaging. There's a lot of mixed messaging in Attack on Titan, and for everyone who's like, well, it's about, of course, like, the series doesn't say that genocide is good. And I was like, well, it kind of does say it's good. I mean, the next chapter says it's bad, but then it kind of goes back to saying, well, actually, genocide maybe was the answer. And maybe it was the good choice. So that's what I mean. Like, you can pick and choose all you want as to how effective you can choose chapters and scenes and say, and hold that up as evidence. It's like, obviously Isayama is saying that war is bad, and that, fascism is bad, and genocide and eugenics is bad. And I'm like, sure, yes. In that scene, yes. And maybe overall, yes. But the next scene has our protagonist talking about, well, maybe genocide is actually the only solution to this. Maybe race purity is kind of the thing. Like, maybe we're just all fated we should just die. Maybe we should just all be, have eugenics placed upon us for our race or for our ethnicity, because they're obviously, because of who we are genetically, we are bad, and we cause all the trouble in the world. And so the only way to get rid of that is to genocide us all. And I'm like, Rin here says it very well, is that when the series, I mean, even if this may have started, Attack on Titan may have started with this ambitious message, but it was too big. It was just not able to be done by him. It also, there's many things I dislike about Attack on Titan, aside, and people like to think that criticism of the series is kind of stops at this level of like, the art is bad, you haven't read the series, you think that it's saying genocide is good, Eren is a villain, so, well, we found out that's so we're not supposed to agree with him, blah 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 blah. No. There's some very fundamentally broken things with Attack on Titan. The man doesn't know how to structure a story. Foreshadowing, who is she? There's just a lot of stuff throughout the course of the series that was introduced too late, not followed up on, not utilized. There's a lot of very heavy topics that are treated with a flippancy or a matter of factness that is kind of concerning. So anyway, Attack on Titan has ended. Finished on yesterday or the day before, don't remember. What did I think of it? I read from chapters 127 to 139, which is the last chapter. Those were the last chapters I had to read. And I don't know what I read, honestly. It was just bizarrely all over the place. The final fight was so many bizarre elements happening. I am both unsurprised, but also somewhat surprised. Okay, so spoilers, apologies, but spoilers for anyone who hasn't read the ending of the series, right? I am going to be spoiling. First and foremost, the last page of the penultimate chapter, so 138, when Mikasa... So I'll start from the beginning. Well, not the beginning, but... So the last chapter I'd read before I went on break to finish this is where all of the group, Jean, and Mikasa, and Armin, and Connie, and Reiner, and Gabby, and Falco, and some other people, I don't remember their names, were all like, we're going to team up and save the world. We got to stop Eren. So I'm like, okay, fine. That was the last thing. So now they're going to do that, right? So they have to go to the country, the Marley, to stop him from doing the thundering, which is like calling upon all of these Titans to basically flatten the earth, wipe out humanity, and I don't know, other stuff, in order to do something. I don't know, get revenge for being the race that got stuck on an island. So that's what they do. They try to steal an airship, and there's a big fight. Annie's with them. I mean, it was cool seeing Annie again. I think that her kind of reintegrating into the story was a plus, because they killed their other female cast member, so they had to bring someone in. It couldn't just be Mikasa and Gabby, because, Gabby, who gives a shit, and Mikasa is a kind of controversial character as it is. So it's good to have her back. Levi is all sorts of fucked up. And yet he's still trying to fight the good fight. God, it's just a mess. And then Eren starts this world-destructing Titan thing where all of these huge Titans basically just go upon the land of the continent and stomp it down, and everyone and everything in its path are crushed, right? So he kills hundreds of thousands of people and razes cities and all sorts of things, and there's a weird like rib cage skeleton with a super long neck and then his weird Titan face, which I was like, why does he look like a dark elf now? He has his really pointy ears with the long hair. It was just weird looking. Like, the design was really weird. But that might just be me with my specific monster design tastes, being picky about how your monsters should look. And then they're fighting that, and there's something to do with the founder, because the founder Ymir, all of like the previous generations of the Titans are like coming back, maybe not personality wise, but they're just fighting all these Titans, not the Titans that are like flattening the earth. Also, all of the family members who are still alive at this point, who are important to similar to our cast, aka Annie's father and Reiner's mom and Gabby and Falca and stuff. They're all like they're evacuating, but and they're on this train. I was like, how are you? First of all, how are you like some of the two of the 12 people who have survived so far? But they're on this train. They're going up to this Tay, you have no idea. This series jumped the shark so hard. And see, the thing is, Rin, that this was kind of meant to be the idea, but also not. So yeah, anyway, they're on this train. They're trying to get to the top of this hill where there's a military base, which is held by like the Marleyans. And then they're like, get away. They see that these Eldians, I don't remember any of these stupid race names, but they see them. The world, like 90% of everyone is dead, and there's an ongoing Titan invasion, and you're about to be crushed by some inhuman, unfeeling monsters, and they're like, you're those scummy race we hate. Don't you get close to us. I'm like, oh my god, there's like 12 people still alive in this whole fucking world, and you're actually still going to shoot each other because of racism? Oh my god, don't you have bigger problems to deal with right now? Meanwhile, all of our main characters are fighting. I don't know, Armin's having some existential crisis. Hanji's died. They were fighting also, okay, so they try to steal a plane, right? They have to steal a plane because there's gunfire. They're stealing from the military base so they could get to this country in time to like stop Eren. They don't get there in time. He's destroying the world. But they managed to steal his plane. But like one of the guys, I don't know his name. He's someone who's introduced way later. He stays behind to blow up this ship so like the soldiers can't fight them. And then he's helped out by this bald guy. And I'm like, he's familiar. And I thought it was like Tay, they've got technology. They've got technology because Attack on Titan, the main characters were stuck on a prison island. It was basically Australia. And Eren's been evil for a while. He's been the villain for a while. But we see there's going to be a twist. It's not a twist, but holy shit. But yeah, so this bald guy comes and I'm like, hey, I recognize you. And then he's like, oh, what's your name? And then it's not the name that I expected. So I'm like, it must be another bald guy. I don't, is this because I thought it was like, is his name Praxis? I maybe that's the wrong name, but like one of the general guys kind of earlier on in the series. But I thinking about it now, it may have been the trainer guy, like who trained them in fighting when they were all like new recruits. Maybe. Anyway, so they stay behind. Oh god, Rin, I'm gonna get to that. Oh my god. So they stay behind, and then they blow up the ship, and before, like, the not bold guy is like, oh, they're gonna remember you as a hero, you're gonna have your name in the history books of saving the world. And I'm like, how? Nobody knows this guy is here. Like, all of like, not Eren, but like all of our casts, Mikasa and stuff, know that you're here and know that you're blown, but they don't know this other guy's here. Who's gonna tell them? So yeah, that happened. And then so yeah, they make it to the world. There's a really, like, actually quite effective chapter that kind of is paralleled to, like, the introductory chapter of Attack on Titan, like when the Titans attack Eren and Mikasa and Armin's town. But with these two brothers, or two little boys from this current country that the Titans are attacking. But unfortunately, like, they don't escape. They die horrible, brutal deaths. And so obviously it's like there's a parallel to this, like, oh, he has become what he hates, and is this truly the right path, and blah 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 blah. And that, I thought that was good, kudos to you, Isayama. Art was still terrible, but it was like, I felt a human emotion for these two kids that were briefly, like, kind of maybe mentioned, although there was like a dumb thing about Eren. Like, Eren had met them previously, and he's like, I'm so sorry, because he knew that he was going to destroy the world, and he was like crying and like, I'm sorry. I'm like, oh my god, what is good? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so yeah, those kids die. We don't care. They're not actually important to anything, aside from showing the hypocrisy of this situation. Eren has become what he has hated for so long. Yeah, Armin's the new general or captain or whatever thing, or commander, because Hanji said, you're gonna be in charge, because I'm probably gonna die. So he's in charge, which is good. Only brain cell in the entire cast. And Falco because they leave Falco and Gabby behind, because, like, you're children, and the other one, the cart Titan or whatever, I don't remember her name, and Annie stays back as well, but then they realize that, like, something wrong is going to happen, and then he realizes that as a Titan he can, like, transform, and he becomes this bird. He can fly. He's a bird Titan with feathers. And I was like, what? Okay. So Annie, like, rocks up. All these people, like, rock up to help Eren. We're stopping Eren. To help Armin and Mikasa, etc., etc. So they rock in, and I remember, because the military base that's on the top, that's about to shoot all these civilians because they're they're the bad race. They let out all of these zeppelins, like all these blimps, all these airships to fight to like drop bombs on the Titans. The Beast Titan, who's Zeke, who, if you aren't aware, is Eren's half brother. Who's the one who's like, genocide's good, who was like kind of the original villain, and Eren became like the next villain. There's, oh my god, this Attack on Titan's a mess and weird. And then so the Titans, like, destroy these things, and something's going on at some point. I literally just read this a couple hours ago, and I don't remember, because there's just so much going on. I thought that Reiner had gotten eaten by, like, one of the Titans, because they, like, chomped him. But then in the next scene, he was just, like, with everyone else. I'm like, did I miss when he got out of the other Titan's mouth, or am I just stupid? is this not inconsistent? Armin gets chomped on, but he doesn't die. He just gets like held in a mouth. And there's some weird tentacle stuff going on. Armin, that boy doesn't deserve the shit he gets. Jesus. But then, as well, it's been too long. I haven't talked about the almighty, most powerful, coolest characters of the piece, which is Mikasa and Levi. One of my biggest complaints, well, not complaints, criticisms, things that I notice about Attack on Titan, which kind of betrays a little bit the creator and his ideology, maybe his opinions, is that Mikasa and Levi are the only two Asians, right, in the main cast. They're both related, and they are the most powerful, like, super awesome, best fighters, toughest fighters, kill all, like, just the best of the best. And we learn that, like, they have literal, like, genetic advantage against Ymir the Founder, which then is, like, related to the Titans. So literally, the way that they win is just because the fact that Mikasa is an Ackerman, and that, like, not anything she does, not anything she says, nothing. It's just like, oh, you were born this way? That means you're just better. You just are fated to be good at this. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I mean about race essentialism in Attack on Titan, because it's blatantly obvious when we talk about Mikasa, not only as a main character, but as the romantic interest, as the lead female character in her relationship with Eren. And then we talk about Levi, who is midway through the series revealed to be her maternal uncle. So there's a fun fact for you guys who are anime only. Maybe that's covered in the anime already. I don't know. I haven't watched it for many years. But surprise, they're related. Although that, like, totally fucks with the timeline with the, like, his spin-off prequel thing. It just doesn't work. Anyway, that's fine. We're not going to talk about that. He literally has got, like, eaten by a Titan, ripped to shred. He has, like, you know, his whole face, like, he's so dead. And he's so beat up. And still, and literally, and this is in chapters before this batch that I was reading, but Hanju's, like, stitching him up. And she's like, or they're like, oh, you know, you're a tough bastard. Anyone else but you would be dead. I'm like, yeah, because he's a super strong, cool Asian man. Also, Isayama's favorite character. So of course he's going to survive. He can't be eaten by a Titan, even though he's just too cool and awesome for that to happen. Anyway, so somehow they beat yeah, there's kind of a weird thing as well about, like, again, how she's an Ackerman, so then that means that her relationship with Eren may be predilected on that fact rather than her true feelings. Something about, like, weird devotion is just genetic to her. And I'm like, stop saying things are, like, fated because of who you are born as. This is weird and terrible and scary and not cool. Like, it's not as cool as what you think it is, right? Anyway, we're fighting Aaron with his weird rib cage self with the long spindly neck and his dark elf face. They're all fighting like past amazing like super titans, right? Combat titans, including their long lost comrades in arms, Bertolt and Ymir, and those, and then they like realize that maybe there is some connection because we're all okay. So it's been established that every Eldrin, whatever the fuck they're called, they like share this, I guess, like mind space. It's like some fucking 12th dimension desert, right? And this is how Aaron like originally met Zeke, and then the founder Ymir. She was like in this dimension. So apparently every Eldrin or whatever has access to this. They don't like necessarily know, but it means they can, as a community, as a fucking hive mind, I guess, have like this collective memory, or it's weird. So Armin, like, whilst he's in the mouth of this titan, he's got chomped, and also kind of like tentacled. He's like awake in this mind space and having to try and have a discussion with Aaron and trying to convince him, like, dude, you don't have to destroy the world. You can still change what's happening, right? Because Armin doesn't want to kill his best friends. I really hope your family's WhatsApp group is not the fucking 12th dimensional desert scape that is in Attack on Titan. But so Armin's like, no, Aaron, we just want to talk to you. And then like all of the friends that are there, like Connie and Jean and you know, Mikasa, they're all like, oh shit, like, Aaron, where are you? We want to talk to you. What's going on? And then Aaron, as the fucking evil villain, is like, no, time for discussion is over. I'm not going to take, because they're like, oh, well, maybe he wants us to stop him because we can still, he has the power to like control Titans, right? That's what the founder Titan, which is what his brother is. He's using his brother's power to control all the Titans. It's like, but we can still do our Titan transformations. Maybe there's so they're like, why are you letting us still do it? It's like, because I'm not going to take your gifts away from, like, I don't know, some weird bullshit. Doesn't really make any sense. But it's like, we can't talk through this. You're going to have to fight me. And then something happens. I think they cut off Aaron's head, right? But they're trying, so then this, like, because Gabby was like, okay, but last time I cut his head off, like back when he bombed the city, which was like ages ago, right? His head was knocked off, but then like this super gross centipede thing like reattached his head to his body, so he survived. So like, you can't let and that's actually the founding powers or something. I don't know, some weird bullshit. And then they're like, just, you can't, so if that happens, you can't let this weird centipede like connect the head back to the body again, because then he'll be alive again. So they cut off his head. Did they cut off his head? They did something, and then they're like, oh, it's over, yay. No, that's not true. Okay, so Armin and that are fighting. Annie is not fighting. She's like, I'm sick of this bullshit. I don't want to murder people anymore, which is fair enough. She and I think Reiner as well, and those guys who are like not actively fighting, they go reunite with their family. Who so like on this military base where the soldiers are about to shoot like the few survivors of this fucking crisis just because like racism. Then there's like a scene, it cuts away and you hear all these shots and like you know that they didn't shoot all these guys, right? But because they're like have a standoff, they got guns at each other, and then Annie's dad's in the middle like, no, can't we talk it out? And then it like hard cuts like 3 or 4 chapters later where they're like, we're all safe and alive, and actually like it. Oh, I laughed so hard because the guard is like, yeah, it's so great that you shot all those like shots into the air because that meant that we didn't fight, and so now we're strong. I'm like, oh my god, this is so dumb. Like, why were you fighting in the first place? But also, that's hilarious. You just had to fake us out so we could pretend to be like we cared about any of these characters. Anyway, so like Annie and that, they meet up with their families. But then, so the others are fighting Eren. Something happens, some weird Titan magic, and then it turns all of the people, all of the guards, everyone. Annie, not Connie. Yeah, Connie was there. All of these people like turn into Titans because so yeah, everyone had been up there. The only ones who weren't were Armin, Mikasa, the girl like heart Titan, I don't remember her name, and Falco, like the fucking bird Titan, and Levi, right? And Levi and Mikasa are going because they realize that like, oh, their fucking Ackerman magic is the only way to stop this. So whilst they're in the air to like go fight, everyone else, literally all the rest of the humans turn into Titans. And I'm like, what is going on? What is going on? And Annie's fighting and Reiner's fighting as their Titan selves because they're so yeah. Eren's head has been cut off. They're trying to like keep, well, his like Titan head has been cut off. But that's not like his real head. So they're trying to keep this like weird slug centipede from going and like reconnecting to his head. And so as a survival tactic, it like sent out a signal, and then all the other humans turned into Titans. And I'm like, oh my god, you got like 2 more chapters. What the fuck is going on? And then yeah, Mikasa and Levi are on this bird boy. And Mikasa's like, oh, my headaches are so bad because it's been established, not super well, but like kind of in the past, that ever since, because they're like later in the series, they kind of revisit the attack of Mikasa's parents, like the murder of her parents, right? And when Eren tried to save her, and then she kind of like fucking snapped and murdered the people who were trying to murder her, and that was like her awakening to the bullshit magic that her heritage or her family line or whatever incurs onto her. And it said that like because of like weird resonance or something, and it's so from that it's maybe been established that she's had headaches. Like the more and more she does this, she gets more and more headaches. I don't know. I don't remember that very well. But they're trying to play that like it's kind of like a resonance thing. Like when she gets close to this rage or this resonance. She gets all these terrible headaches. She's like, my true powers. This is the curse of who I am. Anyway, so she goes to, I think Aaron's head has been cut off at this point. And so she goes into the mouth of Aaron's Titan head and sees his actual head, which again is like in this weird, it's suspended by like spider webs. He's got his gross long hair and his like, the stuff on his skin like this. And he's just like a really long spine, exposed spine. And I'm like, oh, looking rough, dude. Like, I don't, yikes. Anyway, so she like rocks up and kisses him. And like that, all right. No, yes. Wait, did the other thing happen first? No. God, I can't remember. There's so much bullshit that happened in this ending. No, she kisses him. And so I read on a tablet, right? And I read on like Crunchyroll, not this, but on Crunchyroll's like manga app, it doesn't have two, like if you put it on in landscape, it doesn't have 2-page spreads. So you can only read it like page by page. So it has the kiss, right? And then you flick and it's the continuation of that. And it's just like the little girl Ymir, not the one that they fought with, but like the founding Ymir. Just a little girl like standing in the background like, yeah. I laughed so hard. I will post it on Twitter because I already shared it with Ray from Whimsical Pictures, my friend. I laughed so hard. It was just like the biggest freaking spit take I wasn't expecting. It's just like, what a third wheel just hanging out in this like, yeah, get that kiss. It's so funny. It's so funny. And this is the last page before our last chapter. And no, yeah, then she cuts his head off. And so the evil has been defeated, I think. I don't remember if it's before or after that, I think when he had, at some point, it is revealed that, like all of his friends, right, Armin and Mikasa and that, remember, they have this fucking like shared desert dreamscape, so they can all learn the truth. And so at some point, I think it's with Aaron's death, it triggers this memory in all of them that Aaron actually like visited them all, either in person or in this dreamscape, to explain his plan, and then he made them forget it until they killed him. So it's welcome to the stream, Family Guy 10. It is in it is revealed that Aaron this whole time has been living the lie and has made himself the villain in order to save the world. He has chosen unto himself to become a martyr. So he chucked a Lelouch, basically. He's like, I became the villain so the world would reunite, or would unite, not reunite, would unite. But also, so you would kill me, and through that, get rid of Titan powers forever. So that's the end goal. It works. No more Titan powers, by the way. Yeah, so Aaron was right all along. He like told all his friends his grand plan, but then hypnotized them so they didn't remember. Well, no, he just like erased their memories, submerged their memories so deep that they didn't remember. And then so everyone's now is like, oh, you stupid bastard, we didn't want you to die. I mean, Archangel manga, I'm not gonna say that Code Geass is great. So I'm not gonna say it's not shit. But Attack on Titan was absolutely not as effective as that. But yeah, and then so everyone's like, "Oh god damn it, Eren, we loved you, stupid bastard." I'm like, "Oh my god, everyone's so upset about this," and I'm like, "Yeah, maybe his friends are. I can get that, but like, he murdered so many people, and I mean, it is fair and like, well, we all murdered lots of people too. We're not good people." I did like that. There was a good scene about Armin talking about that with Annie about like how he doesn't like being called a good person because he's done bad stuff too, and you know he continues to do bad things. But there's a whole like Armin and Annie romance thing going on as well, which I think is good. Like at least that has payoff. That was kind of established early on and then resolved ish. Um, I mean, good on them for finally kind of sealing the deal in so far with like Mikasa and Eren, but you know he's dead now. And then so Mikasa like comes out with his head. Everyone's like screaming and crying, and but it's over. The Titans are dead. Titans, everyone is no longer a Titan. Even the Titans back in at home. So Connie's mother, who's just been like hanging out as a Titan forever, she's gone back to normal. Everyone's back to normal. Titans don't exist anymore, and we all have our savior Eren Yeager to thank. He may have murdered 80% of the global population, but truly this was the best choice. And again, they had a whole genocide maybe is the better answer discussion like 2 chapters before. So I don't know what's going. It's just wild. And then the last chapter was like 3 years later. So Historia has had her rape baby. I think she just lives in the country or something now with her now new husband who isn't a royal or I don't know, something. Aisha, you've missed a lot. But also so she's had her baby, she's happy living in the country, that's fine. The rest of the group, everyone else, Armin and Annie and yes, Aisha, I'm talking about Attack on Titan. Armin and Annie and Reiner and who else is there? Connie, I don't remember. Is they're now like the head of peace talks between the island where they're from and the outside world to try and stop another war. And I'm like, also, I presume now that Titans are gone, that those who have Titan powers aren't going to die in a young, unseemly death because of the Titan powers. Because it was established that if you had Titan powers, that you only could live another 12 years past the point you got them. So I would assume now that they all have the ability to live long, happy lives. Maybe. Thumbs up. Let's hope. But yeah, so the island is like, yeah, but we wanted the outside world to be genocided. That's what they deserve for putting us on this island prison. So now this like whole other faction of super Nazis is trying to genocide the rest of the world. So that's happening. So like all of this bullshit didn't even bring around peace. It just got rid of Titans, which I mean is a plus, but it didn't actually solve anything. And maybe that's the greater message, is that truly conflict and war is part of humanity. But I don't know, it's just stupid. And like, man, all this bullshit, like so many people died and you're still getting into racism fights. Can't you just for once not be like super racist and want to kill each other over dumb shit? And then, oh, what else happens? Levi's still alive. Okay, this is the other thing, because all right. I thought he was like as good as dead because they saved the world. It's all done. Levi's raw. Like, he already had so many injuries. Then he got chomped on the leg by a Titan. Well, they're the Jaegerists, so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. That's what the fascists are called in Attack on Titan world, is Jaegerists. Man, what a legacy. Wouldn't you love that? I'm the true hero, but only like my friend group knows this, so I will stay the villain forever. No worries though. And then God, yeah, the stupid stuff happens. But Levi, so he's chomped. He's like, after the fighting has done, right? All of the Titans, because when Titans die, right, they let off all that steam. So there's all this steam going off, and amidst the steam, Connie and Jean see this, like, the ghost of what's her name, Sasha. Like, oh, all of these people that we've lost. There's actually like quite a good narrative thread in regards to like Marco earlier on in this bunch of chapters as well. Like, there was good stuff. There was just also, it was kind of drowned out by all of the bullshit. Like, so there was a couple like threads that were followed up on that had been established early on, but everything else was so dumb and all over the place and just kept increasing stupidity. But anyway, so they see the ghost of Sasha, and Levi's like propped up against a rock, and he sees all of his fallen comrades, including Hanji and what's his name, Erwin, and all of the people, all of the hundreds of people that he's seen die over the course of his military career. And so he's like, we finally did it. And he like does the his final the salute or whatever, and it's like, man. And I was so like, I was in two minds, because yeah, Force Ghosts, at least they didn't actually do anything compared to like Naruto, where everyone who was dead was like resuscitated for the big bad like end fight. But so they come back, and yeah, Levi's like, oh, it's over finally after so many lives lost and blah blah blah. And I was in two minds, because I was like, okay, the correct thing to do, it's cliche, but the correct thing to do would be that Levi dies now, and he joins all of these people who have like, he's in a rough spot. Like, I'm if he dies here, like, he gets the satisfaction of like finally defeating this horrible, terrible thing that's affected his life and made him lose so many people over the course of his life, but then also rejoin them, maybe meet them again in the afterlife, and blah blah blah. And it would be poetic. Like, he gave that last salute, and then he finally, like, that last little, not will to live, but like that last little thing tying him to this world, that last little bit of strength, finally can relax and free him from the decades of fighting. But I also know that Levi is Isayama's favorite character, and so he can't do his boy like that. He's like, nah, poetic but cliche ending, death, nah. This man who has been ripped to pieces by Titans and stitched together with 2 shoelaces and some fishing wire, he's gonna make it. It's fine. So he's fine. I mean, he's not fine. He's in a wheelchair. Well, I mean, you can be fine in a wheelchair, but he's all we see of him is he's in the city with the now 3 years older Gabby and Falco, being pushed around, and then the black guy, I don't remember his name, being pushed around the city in a wheelchair, and it's just like, I don't think he says anything. He's just like, yep. And you're like, all right, well, maybe that's also nice because he sees a world after the Titans, but like also, I don't know, I just feel like there's a missed opportunity there. There's just a lot of, I mean, Zen, there was people of color in Attack on Titan. There's a whole nation of them, in fact, but we saw them all get squished by Titans. There's like one left. I don't know. There's some interesting race relations in Attack on Titan. Also, there's like a Japan country. I'm like, oh, holy shit, who could have thought? And it was kind of like the black country where like everyone was black. Was based off of London, so it was like, I'm like, why is the Tower Bridge in the? Is this okay? I mean, cool. Like that's interesting, but why? And then, yeah, I don't really remember. And this is the one black guy who survived was like part of the team. He had a really long name, started with an O, and it I don't know what it was. I can't remember. He was he's been part of the like later part of this story. Hell if I'd remember what faction he was part of or anything like that. But he's been hanging around with Armin and Mikasa and stuff for a while. So like, alrighty. But yeah, I think he may be the only black person left in the whole country, or well, in the whole world, maybe. I don't know how many people survived all those foot stomping Titans. And definitely the only one with a name, if that tells you anything. Yeah. Was there anything else? Oh yeah, so at the end, after Mikasa chopped off Eren's head. They bring it out. Everyone like eulogizes, like, "Oh my god, Eren, we loved you. You sacrificed yourself to save us all, and what it felt like we didn't want you to leave me." And then, oh yeah, there's this whole thing about Mikasa's scarf as well, like symbolism. And again, that's fine. I didn't like it, but it was fine. It worked. And then they're like, well, Mikasa, what are you gonna do? Because okay, also like when there's so much weird shit in this. When Armin and Eren, so when Armin like remembers that the dream, when Eren came to him in a dream to explain his plan, there's the whole thing about like, what are you gonna do about Mikasa? You know, she loves you. What are you gonna do? And he's like, oh well, you know, I hope she, like, it's not my problem. I hope she, you know, finds someone and is happy and can live, you know, life without me. Blah blah. And then Armin like fucking punches him in the face and is like, quit your bullshit. Don't you give me that. And then, you know, Eren's like, what do you want me to say? That I don't want her to be happy? That I want her to think about me my whole life? Well, I do. Like, I don't want her to think about anyone else. I want us to be together forever. But now I'm a villain, and, you know, we can't, and all that. I'm like, oh my god. You're meant to be like, man, so many of your problems would have been fixed if you communicated, and also if you didn't make just the stupidest decisions. So yeah, we got confirmation that those two are in love even before the kiss happened, but they're in love. So yeah, Mikasa like takes Aaron's head because like, well, we can't let anyone else have him because they'll, you know, do stuff like, you know, he's a traitor or whatever. He's the villain of the fucking villain of the entire world. So she takes his head and buries it under the tree that he first woke up under, that very first chapter. So she took him back to his homeland, and yeah, as I said, it's 3 years later. She's like sitting under the tree wearing her scarf. Armin is out like trying to do peace talks between the new fascist group and like the rest of the world who was wiped out by Titans. And just like, holy shit, like what? Oh my god, I don't know if we're prepared for this, but how could this have happened and people are still trying to kill each other? I don't know. But then he sees a bird like fly off and the feather comes down. He's like, oh, I hope freedom. So I hope Aaron's like finally free, has that freedom that we dreamed of as children. And then Mikasa's like under this tree, and the bird, a different bird, same type of bird, like pulls her scarf, you know, that Aaron gave her, and like tries to put it around her, and she's like, thank you for wrapping my scarf. And the bird flies away, and so I'm like, is he now a bird? What is the symbolism? And then that's the end. The end. Bird, the end. It's so dumb. So as you can tell, I loved it. No, in all seriousness, that was Attack on Titan has always been a clusterfuck of a lot of ideas. Some good, most not so good. And everything else just like not handled well whatsoever. Pardon me. I cannot believe, not that it ended this way, because I kind of always expected that Aaron would die, right? I didn't really expect him to survive to the end of the series. I'm kind of surprised that both Armin and Mikasa are alive. I'm happy that Armin's alive because he's always been my favorite character. As I said, the only one with half a brain cell. It's not that I'm surprised at the ending, as I said, of like, oh, you know, Aaron died for trying to reach or trying to protect or whatever, something that he's always believed in. And again, you could like maybe tie in that idea of revenge and being futile and yada yada yada. But oh my god, literally everything else. Oh, I forgot, Rin. Holy shit! I just remembered your comment. Who said where Reiner sniffs a letter? Where is that comment? Okay. Yeah, so Rin, to answer this question, Reiner sniffed a letter because Historia wrote it and was like, and he's like, oh, her letters are like always, her writing is so pretty and her letters smell super good. It's like a creeper, and everyone's like, dude, she's married like, and has a kid, and dude, stop being creepy. I'm like, why was this necessary? Was this necessary for your finale? I don't know if this is necessary. Man, this is already kind of just all over the place. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, so that was the final chapter of Attack on Titan. Well, the final like 12 chapters. Because all that happened in the last chapter was like, oh, it's 3 years later. Here's everyone. Here's this group being peacekeepers. Here's Levi in a wheelchair doing nothing. And here's Mikasa under a tree. Bird, bird, bird. Yay! The end. And then like a message from the editorial department is like, 11 years ago, Attack on Titan's first chapter was published, and it's been such, like, I don't even remember what, it was such a weird message. I'm like, what is what? See, okay, because if what Archangel manga is saying is that like the original ending was everyone dies, then I think that would have been kind of not a cop out, but like I don't think that would have been very effective. I mean, it'd be like people be upset because like, oh no, everyone we cares about dies, right? I think maybe a cliched but more impactful ending would be having at least the main three, or two of the main three survive, which is what happened, right? But without all of this other like weird war bullshit, right? Honestly, Attack on Titan should have ended when the three of them plus friends plus the other guys plus the hangers on reached the ocean, right? And they discovered that there was like a much wider world out there. And now the end. We escaped the Titan Island. The end. Wow, we can be free and happy. The end. That should have been the ending, where you fought the thing, you destroyed the monsters, there's some stupid political bullshit, but before all of this other bullshit happened, all this conspiracy, and like there's already that, but more of that. Just, hey, we escaped, and now we can, maybe now we know the weakness of the Titans, we can destroy them, and everyone on our island can be free. Titans are gone. Yay! The end. We've reached the ocean. We're free. We don't, like, I don't know, man. It's dumb and cliche, but it's more emotionally impactful insofar as like that's kind of been get freedom is very much like a theme here. Something that the trio has always wanted was to see the wider world, to see the world without, you know, the walls surrounding them. And it's brought back into these last couple chapters as well, but it's just not done well. And like sometimes just reaching that end point and like that relief and that hopeful like open future of like, yay, now we're out of this terrible situation and we can live our lives and be happy and live happily ever after. And it's stupid and dumb, but this was not a very smart shonen to begin with, and Mikasa and Eren can live happily ever after. Armin can live happily ever after. Maybe he revives Annie somehow. Happily ever after. Like, I don't know. That just seems like a better, more effective, I mean, simpler and more straightforward ending. But as we can tell from the reaction of this last chapter, the convoluted mess and like so many moving parts that was the Attack on Titan finale didn't work, just doesn't work. And it wasn't executed in a way that was convincing or interesting or able to be taken seriously whatsoever. Like, whatsoever. I feel like, especially with this sort of series, you can go like the super dark route of like everyone dies, life's shit, right? You know, there's no heroes, yada yada. But for a shonen, mainstream shonen, you need something a little bit more hopeful than that. I would hope. And I think it's just, I mean, maybe you guys think I'm a chump for wanting positive and hopeful messaging and stuff, typically. But I just think it's a more satisfying read, right? And like, the world within a bigger world is a trope that is overdone. I would say that like Hunter x Hunter does it really well. And that's not just my bias jumping out. It's actually taking the time to be interesting, and it kind of plays into the whole grandness of what Hunter x Hunter has always been. I can't think of another example right now, but like you can do all of these elements well, right? But when it's so much going on, it's not a series that was planned to have this ending. It's not a series, and it's evident that it didn't fully have all of these ideas foreshadowed or even conceived, you know, when Isayama was doing his original drafting for this. See, I haven't read Claymore, so I don't know. It's just, and I don't know if I guess maybe, yeah, Oda. There's just something about having, I mean, there's a saying about like having too many balls in the air when you're juggling, right? You can't really, it takes a very talented, skilled person to be able to handle all of that and make it cohesive and work. You can tell, and I've said this before, and it's going back to what I initially said with how Isayama doesn't, one of the fundamental issues that I have with Attack on Titan, outside of like the lack of skill versus skill of art, is that he doesn't know. It's obvious that it wasn't a planned story arc, right? There's a lot of times where a flashback will happen to a particular scene to introduce something. The chapter before that thing becomes relevant, rather than foreshadowed 10, 20, 50 chapters beforehand when it would have made more sense to introduce that. It's just, there's a very broken idea. There's no like full character arcs with some of these characters. It jumps all around with like trying to get you to care about all of these characters who we know are going to die in 2 seconds. It telegraphs who is and isn't important, which makes us as an audience like not care, obviously, because why would we care about someone we know is going to die in a second? But and this, I'm not going to compare it to Haikyuu, but we're going to compare to something else that I'm not unbiased talking about. But when you compare to a series like Full Metal Alchemist, right? Where Arakawa may have changed some things, may have added certain elements, may have, shuffled some things around, taken things out because of popularity or interest or whatever else. But throughout the entirety of the series, everything was foreshadowed early on. So much so that the last fight, the final fight, the crucial moment of victory is paramount to the inherent premise of the story, insofar as like Edward having automail. Like a lot of creators, like, yeah, it's a cool design thing, and it's part of his character, but that whole way that happened is paramount to how that series ends, or it solves its ending, right? And if it was anything else, even if it, like, the automail was switched, like which one was which, it wouldn't have worked. It just straight up wouldn't have worked. So in that final fight, so it's just everything, you can tell when a creator has an idea, knows how their characters fits into that idea, adapts that idea to how those characters organically like interact and grow and communicate with each other, and yeah, it's the ending to that fight is important, not only as like, oh, we beat the villain, we punched the villain, we won the thing, right? It's also a huge character moment and a huge recognition of how the characters have grown, how they think about themselves, how they assess problems, how much they've bettered themselves since the beginning. So there's like a lot of different elements that go into that is a culmination of the 100+ chapters before it to that ending. And I mean, again, I am going to talk about Haikyuu. This is not a totally different genre, but I'm going to talk about it in regards to the final arc and the ending, because that is a straightforward ending in that, like, obviously they're playing a volleyball game. They don't do much else aside from that in that series. But so if you don't know, there's a time skip when Haikyuu, like a significant time skip. It's 5 or 6 years. And so a majority of the characters are out of high school. They're living their lives. They're adults now. They're university students or whatever. And they an uncreative creator or a creator who wanted to play it safe would have just made, like, literally everyone who is good at volleyball a professional volleyball player, right? That's, oh, you're good at a sport in high school? Well, you want to be a professional. But with Haikyuu, that's not the case. There's plenty of characters who do play volleyball professionally, who do continue to play it to some level, and love volleyball still. But there's plenty who have left the sport behind in competing themselves. They still obviously support their local games, or, when there's a team playing that they know someone on that team, but the rest of the people are like, I'm a police officer now. I'm a teacher. I'm a nutritionist. I'm between jobs right now. Oh, I'm a hairdresser. And you're like, wow, that's kind of amazing. And no more obvious is it than when, again, spoilers, apologies, but with Noya, who for the entirety of the series is heralded as like an incredible athlete, incredible libero, right? He's so good at what he does. And people kind of assume that he will just continue on with sports for, his professional career. And even fans were like, oh, he hasn't shown up yet. I wonder what team he's going to be revealed on. Like, I really, I'm interested to see what he's doing. And when it is finally revealed what he's doing, it has nothing to do with volleyball. Nothing whatsoever. And I think that's so refreshing because it then goes into because it's reliant, knowing that choice that he made, that decision that he made for his future, is reliant on understanding his characterization has been throughout the series. His relationship, when he explained about the relationship with his grandfather and his childhood, and so how that affected him growing up and now being a teenager, or when he was a teenager and on the volleyball team, and like the lessons that taught him, and then now as an adult, young adult, how that is all built up from that, right? So it's super good. Additionally, like on the opposite side, right, one of the things we discover very late into the series is Kageyama's backstory. Like he's one of the main characters, and we know some stuff about his life, but you don't realize how little you know about him and his family and his situation and why he loves volleyball until that chapter arrives and you see his childhood, you see his family, you see how he was introduced to the sport, and you're like, oh my goodness, this recontextualizes so much. This is wow. And that is called effective writing. And it's kind of funny because Furudate half the time is like, yeah, I just kind of had an idea and threw it in there. Like, how did you do this? Sensei, how did it all work? He's like, yeah, or well, we don't know Furudate's gender, but they're like, oh yeah, originally Atsumu was going to be like an only child, and like, but that's the whole reason he's a twin is like super crucial to his whole story. This is wild. How did you just on the fly make so many things work? That's talent right there. That's super talent right there. And maybe if Isayama was a little bit more like Furudate, maybe Attack on Titan could have worked with this wild, crazy, out of the every direction finale. But unfortunately, no. Hello, Zach. Welcome to the end of the live stream. You came in quite late. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on the Attack on Titan finale. Obviously I'm not upset over it. Attack on Titan isn't a series that I've enjoyed for a long time. Hate reading's the wrong word. I've been watching the train wreck crash in slow motion for years now, right? And so the way that it ended didn't not surprise me, but it surprised me in just like, because obviously series has just jumped so many sharks as it is, and it's just so problematic. Does not know how to execute any sort of idea coherently. I'm so glad everyone agrees with my incredibly tame Haikyuu takes. but so I wasn't upset that Attack on Titan ended it the way it did. I'm kind of surprised that people only now at the finale had major problems with it. Because it was like, did no one else laugh when Mikasa kissed his head, and then the little girl was literally standing right behind them, yeah. It's that was the funniest thing, was that did no one else laugh super hard when that happened? I feel like that's something you're allowed to laugh at. Did no one else laugh when Connie would almost tried to murder that child and made the expressions are so ugly. Did no one else yell, just start yelling like I do every time a main character who we're supposed to be rooting for is maybe genocide is a good idea. Maybe eugenics is correct. And then 2 chapters later, no, that's bad. This is I'm gonna post it to Twitter because holy shit, guys, you don't. My reaction, because the spread, the fact it was single pages reading is so funny. The fact that, but yeah, characters be maybe genocide is the only way for peace, and then 2 chapters later, no, genocide is bad, and then 3 chapters later, they're well, genocide's bad, but maybe it is truly the only way. And I'm oh my god, guys, can we stop trying to push genocide as a legitimate solution to problems, because it's not. It's not, and you shouldn't try to encourage genocide any time. No one deserves genocide. This is not a good thing. We have actual genocides in human history. Oh my god. And then the bird titan thing is just so stupid. I was oh my god. I knew it would be a train wreck. I didn't realize how much of a train wreck. And then, just the 3 years later, people are living their lives. They're happy. Then they're alive. Things are happening. Oh, also, a super fascist army's been rising up. They're trying to genocide everyone else. I'm oh my god, you just stopped the genocide with the Titans. You just did it, and now what? It was only 3 years ago. It's not even it's been 3 generations. And no, it's oh well, no, but maybe the genocide was a good thing. We want to keep genocide. I'm can we just stop? Can we just stop? Stop it! Stop, please. Anyway, so also Mikasa is a stronger woman than I. If I had to kiss my romantic interest while he was a suspended head with a creepy very extremely long exposed spine and just the greasiest gross hair, being suspended by weird fleshy tendrils, man, I couldn't do it. So I guess my love just isn't strong enough to be in love with the world's villain. Well, no, the super martyr who has become the evil unto which we fight against in order to harmonize humanity, or whatever the hell. So yeah, Attack on Titan was it was the thing. I'm again surprised that it took this long for people to be surprised that it was a hot mess, and just Oh, I can't. I'm still also laughing over the fact that like the train full of refugees hits the army building, and the army like people are legitimately going to shoot these refugees because of racism. Like everyone is dead. Everyone's been crushed by Titans, and you want to shoot 12 guys because they're the wrong race. Oh my god, guys, guys. Ah. I feel like even the most bigoted guard, when being faced with the wrath of like 10,000 giant titans about to squish everything and everyone you've ever known, you'd be like, no, you're the wrong kind of survivor. We're gonna kill you. My god, oh my god, you have other bigger things to deal with right now. Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, Attack on Titan overall series, 3 out of 10. Attack on Titan entertaining train wreck, especially the finale, 8.5 out of 10. Like, and yeah, as I said, Iroboku SS is like quaint in comparison. There's some like, there's nothing weird. Nobody's encouraging genocide. Well, actually, no, there is kind of not genocide. Well, kind of. Yeah, so for those who came late to the stream, I finished this series. I read volumes 6 to 11 of, oh my god, so many on the series. I also caught up digitally to chapter 17 of A Sign of Affection, which was really lovely and wonderful, and also in the Crunchyroll manga app, which is how I read Attack on Titan. So, yes. The other thing is that, unsurprisingly, the chapter leaked, and everyone, was, well, everyone, people will justify it to themselves to read things early, and call themselves fans and such. I've always been someone like, I don't know, you're not owed anyone's hard work, especially not mangaka who literally kill themselves over the lifestyle and like creating their art just because you don't want to pay a couple bucks, and you much rather just steal it. And like, hey, if like, I'm not your mother. I would hope that if I was, I'd raise you better, but I'm not your mother. You can do whatever you want. You're allowed to be a bad person and steal other people's hard work if you want to. But, like, also, if you're going to do that, don't fucking talk about it on Twitter. Like, holy shit. What kind of... It's a special grade of idiocy, I think, when people want to then talk about the fact that, yes, I steal, and I think it's good, but yes, this means I'm a super fan. I'm like, no, you're not. I don't like Attack on Titan, but at least I give Isayama enough respect that I actually fucking support his legal releases of his work. I don't give him money, but I give money to a platform who then gives him money to have his series, or at least, it all works out. But I've never pirated Attack on Titan ever, right? So, like, who truly is the fan? These people who couldn't wait 3 days to read a chapter that was simulpubbed on multiple platforms by Kodansha, or me who laughs at the just hilarious spit take and the bird symbolism and yells about how genocide may be good and or bad in the series depending on who you ask, and thinks that it's a hot trash fire. I think, me, honestly, to be honest, Archangel manga. I feel like the thing is, you know that he's going to have another one. And maybe there'll be less like race purity stuff in the next one. I don't think so, because I think that's pretty set in stone with how Titan started. Like, this was always something that was in Titan, right? So I kind of just want him to like never make another series again. Not because like, if he wants to, fine. I'm not going to read it, but if he wants to, fine. But I feel like he just has so much money and so much, like, how is he going to follow? First of all, it would be impossible to follow up a series with the same popularity as Titan. Plus, mixed with that, like, total flop of an ending. There's going to be a lot of burnt bridges with longtime fans who don't trust him anymore. But also, like, he has so much money, and like, congrats on his success. I'm pretty sure he's married. If not, like, just look after yourself, dude. Like, get some sleep, live your life. You can't go on vacation right now, but like, I don't know, have a massage, get a pedicure, just treat yourself to some good food, celebrate the ending, and like, don't do anything. Just fucking don't do anything and live off of those royalties, because they will last your whole life. But even, and if you want to come back and do something, you know, personal, and you wanted to, like, you had an idea for something, I won't read it, as I said, and I kind of don't want, it will happen, but I don't want him to inherently get his next series serialized based purely off of the fact that you know, his Attack on Titan is so popular, right? So the situation like with Kishimoto after Naruto trying Samurai 8, is that what that series called? And they like hyped it so much, and then it was abysmal and everybody hated it. And I feel bad for that. But at the same time, like, how there's no way to follow up a series that had that kind of smash hit popularity. The only one who's successfully done it, in my opinion, is once again the great and amazing and super talented Yoshihiro Togashi after Yu Yu Hakusho. And I mean, Hunter x Hunter is a passion project, absolutely. But also, like, I say better than Yu Yu Hakusho, but they're both really good, so, and both super popular. So, like, you know, that's and when you're talking about Jump manga, that's kind of what comes to mind. Like, I would say that Arakawa's been very, very successful with Silver Spoon and such after Fullmetal Alchemist. It's not to the same level of popularity, but the critical acclaim and like general consensus is that series is also beloved. Maybe not by the same group of people, but you know, it absolutely was super popular and enjoyed by many. But yeah, compared to Kishimoto, compared to Toriyama, compared to a lot of these creators who have like just a mega smash hit, and that becomes their life for, you know, the rest of their life. And then the thing is with Isayama is like, he can't even go the Boruto route with Naruto or with Attack on Titan, but they can't go the Boruto route. One, because there's no like next generation of characters. There might be, but I don't think so. And then Secondly, there's already been because it's so big, they've already had a million spin-offs for Attack on Titan created by other people, like Before the Fall and the spoof on Titan and Attack on Titan Junior High and the Levi prequel and the anthology book that had a whole bunch of like Western comics creators in it, and just the Lost Girls thing, which was Mikasa and Annie. Oh God, don't even. I don't want to know any more about the rape baby. It's so bad. That's what I feel about this baby. God. So yes, Attack on Titan should be finished, done. Let's never go back to it again. All the spin-offs and that are finished too. Just let it die a somewhat dignified death whilst it still has an ounce of life still in its weary bones. But it's already been milked like far beyond other series of its popularity. It's the only series I can really think of with as many spin-offs as Titan, and it's not as many, but with a similar level and type of spin-off is like Fairy Tail, and I guess Seven Deadly Sins to a lesser extent. Neither of which I've read, so I've watched some Seven Deadly Sins, but I've never read it. So yeah, it is 1:45 in the morning. I should go to bed. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for 2 hours whilst I complain about dumb manga. And be happy about manga too. I did read some good stuff. Some good stuff. Okay stuff. Something really wonderful. And then it's gonna be sad, like you're gonna have to find another so bad it's good, not so bad it's good, but like so bad it's entertaining train wreck series, because Attack on Titan's over now. What am I gonna do? And I can't really remember what my last one was. Bakuman was a hate read. I fucking hated that one. And I don't think I'm not touching Platinum End. Do not recommend that to me. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? I need to find something else that will give me the joy of just like watching how, I don't know if delusional is the right word, but how people who don't know anything about writing, literary works, who haven't read a book without pictures ever, defend as like their generic shonen is the greatest peak fiction of all time. I've said it before, I will say it again, it's harsh but true, that for a community of who presumably enjoys and reads a lot of comics and otherwise, hopefully, they don't really have a lot of reading comprehension. They don't really know how to talk about books or stories, talk about like anything, writing, theming, setting, characters. And so I guess I'm just gonna wait till the next big series where I was like, oh, it's the greatest series of all time, and I'm gonna read it and be like, that was 1, bad, 2, not original in the way, like, because people are like, oh, it's so original, so dark, it's so this, that, whatever. It's like, it's not actually. It's a trope that's been used since fucking cavemen, but go off, I guess. And then be told that it's like super interesting and important and cool and awesome because a girl showed a titty, and then there was a rape scene, and then the big guy with I don't know, a giant axe, which definitely isn't an allegory for something, or he's definitely not compensating for anything, is actually super good and super cool and like totally understandable. Oh, his pain is so relatable. So maybe I should keep reading Uwe Blatt, because that was very much like that. Who knows? I like to inflict pain upon myself. I'm going to balance out the good stuff with some just atrocious things every so often. But yeah, I'm going to bed. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend wherever you are. I hope you all enjoyed me just chatting about some manga for like 20 minutes and then spend an hour and a quarter or hour and 3/4 talking about Attack on Titan. But did we really expect anything else from me? No, should be the answer to that. But yeah, so night, everybody. Next video will be out whenever it's out. Don't know what it'll be. Who knows? Surprise as per usual. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye till then.